We left off 310. Avrami, sit over here. Rolling Yud Gimel. Hoya Kosva. Shekori posik ba Megillah shumatik mimenu v'kosva. Yeah, what he's doing, he has a full Megillah. He reads a pasuk and then he writes it. Hoya Kosva Shekori posik ba Megillah shumatik mimenu v'kosva. He reads the pasuk out of a Megillah, which is a full Megillah, and he writes it onto a parchment. In kiven liva lotzis yedecho boso yotzo. If he had in mind when he's doing this, meaning this really literally this Mishnah almost in Brokos. Person's reading the Torah, and it came to Tzman Kriyishma. It happens to be the portion of Kriyishma. It says kiven liva yotzo. That if he had intent to be Yotzei Kriyishma when he read the parsha, he's Yotzei. So the whole discussion is Shichas Kavanim. It's eight Shichas Kavanim. Then it says, so you're Megabgei. Sometimes if you read the Torah just to find mistakes, you don't necessarily pronounce the words right. Like you just read it through quickly without really articulating and verbalizing, saying the words correctly. A Yotzei, because he didn't pronounce the words correctly. It's like there's some people happening. You know, they have a habit. They're not really saying the words. You find today, you don't find it so much. But in the generation, the man is not saying the words. He's eye-reading it, and he's just babbling when he says the words. I don't know if you ever saw it. In European Jews, you saw it among Europeans. That's the way they did it. You're not saying the words. But you know, when you daven, you're supposed to express it. So they were eye-reading it, but that was their level of expression. But you weren't saying the words. It wasn't considered you said anything. But Hoya Magam game, so Rashi and Tosas learned he was looking for Chaseris and Yaseris. You know, some certain letters are written fully or deleted in the Torah. So you read it in a way where it's not important that you fully pronounce the word, because you're really just looking to see if the words are spelled correctly. Okay? So something similar here. He's when he starts writing, he's copying it from a Megillah onto a new parchment. So what's his main focus? To write a new Megillah. Right? That's what he's doing. You know, the halach is when you write a Sefer Torah, you're not supposed to write it from memory. When you write a mezuzah, you're supposed to write it from written. Why? Because there's a chance you may make a mistake. Because if you're copying it from a valid text, you probably do it mostly right. With memory, you may not do it right. Okay, that's the right way. So that's the way the man's writing a Megillah. He has a Megillah, fully written, and he's transcribing it onto a parchment. So if he has in mind when he's doing that also to be Yotzei, that's the Kivan Libo. Then you're Yotzei. But of course, what he's reading, the pasuk that he's reading from the written Megillah, that Megillah, the majority of Megillah has to be there, right? Because otherwise, Koral Peh. You have to read the text. You have to have a text. You have to read it from a text. Let's say he has 5 psukim on that parchment he's copying from, right? He's not Yotzei. Let's say he has multiple parchments separated. It's not one Megillah. One it says 5 psukim, and he reads it off that, and he copies it on that. It's nothing. Because when he read it off, it's not a valid Megillah. V'chenim hoya magia, v'chenim hoya dorsha, shekori posuk b'Megillah shleim v'dorsha. He reads a pasuk, and then he expounds on the pasuk. Right? Because we had earlier, if you're mafsik, especially in the old days, you had a maturgama. They would read a pasuk, then they would explain it to the people. That's where they did it. Because it's not purely for lecturing. He also has in mind that he wants the Yotzei Kriyas Megillah. He says if he's expounding on the Megillah, he should not introduce other things, other interruptions other than what he's speaking about. This is, we spoke about the Maturgama, right? In the olden days, he had a translator. They would expound on to give the people an understanding of what the text is about. Okay, let's see Yud Gimel. Well, they definitely have in mind. They definitely have in mind to be Yotzi. He's the sofer. So if he wants to be yotzei, he has to have in mind to be yotzei. But of course he doesn't. Even if they have in mind to be yotzei, they're not going to be yotzei. Of course they're hearing a reading, which is not a valid reading, right? Shkor pasuk Megillah hainu afilu ba'ofen zeh hoysa kriyas kol ha-Megillah ksheira. Hol shekivu lotzis bo yidei chovo. So why? Because he had in mind that he wants to be yotzei chivu lo kivin lotzeis. Afilu rak pasuk echod. Let's say the first pasuk he copied. He didn't have in mind that he wants to be yotzei with that first pasuk, and then from the second pasuk onward, he had in mind. He's not yotzei. Nobody's yotzei because the first pasuk was never read, right? Even though he read the first pasuk, the reading of the pasuk was only copied onto the new parchment. So that it's just like he skipped the first pasuk. Absha be'elach is kaving lotzis lo yotza. In kivin libo lotzis yirechovoso sosam b'zav kaposkim. This field mitzvah shuvas kavana. So we see the Mechaber rules regarding this position of Rambam, right? There's an argument mitzvah shuvas kavana, mitzvah ain't shuvas kavana. How do we rule? It's a famous Rambam. The Rambam rules that although we normally rule mitzvahs ain't shuvas kavana, but for Kriyas Megillah, the Rambam rules mitzvahs shuvas kavana. So they ask on the Rambam, and it seems to be, why is this the exception? If under normal circumstances, doing the mitzvah itself, the person puts on tefillin, and he doesn't have mind, it's for the sake of the mitzvah, he's yotzei. Of course, as long as he knows he's putting on tefillin, but he doesn't think, I'm doing it for the sake of the mitzvah, he's yotzei. But Kriyas Megillah, unless you think you're doing it for the sake of the mitzvah, you're not yotzei. You take a lulav, you take lulav, but you don't think you're doing it for the sake of the mitzvah, yotzei, netilas lulav. You sit in the sukkah, you don't have in mind that it's for the sake of the mitzvah, yotzei. But for reading the Megillah, you have to have specifically in mind, I'm doing it for the sake of the mitzvah. Why? Alan, what would you say? Okay. You got to graduate from Shalom Shuvas Torah here, right?
I think that your listed can't be something else. You can't. It's only putting filling on because you're putting filling.
Because the question is, what's the alternative? It's either A or B. You're doing an act of a mitzvah. Tefillin is that. Daled meaning is that. Every one of the. So therefore, if the alternative is it's not mitzvah related, so we say its representation is mitzvah. Kriyas Megillah could be one of two things. If a person studies the Megillah, what is it? It's Limud Torah. You're studying Torah, correct? So, but you want to do more than study Torah. You want to designate it for the mitzvah. So it's not, the alternative is nothing. It has no relevance to mitzvah. It's one of two mitzvahs. Is it Talmud Torah? Or is it in addition, it's Kriyas Megillah? Correct? So therefore, that's the reason why you have to specifically in mind to say it's not only A, it's in addition to B. When you read the Megillah, you also feel the mitzvah Talmud Torah. But that it should take on that other status of Kriyas Megillah, you have to have that in mind specifically that I want to be yotzei the mitzvah of Kriyas Megillah. So let's do the parshas Zohar. Parshas Zohar is the same thing. You study the pasuk of Zohar Yisrael Al-Cha Molik, right? It's a pasuk in the Torah. So to be yotzei that, unless you have in mind specifically that you want to be yotzei mitzvahs parshas Zohar, you're not going to be yotzei. Because there again, the alternative, it's not that it's nothing. It's Limud Torah. Instead, but I'm saying, but it would be the same to Kriyashma. Kriyashma is the same thing. But Kriyashma is in addition to other things. No. No, let's say the Balkari agrees. He doesn't think he's doing it for the sake of a mitzvah. And he holds no one in mitzvah saying even by a doraisa. Right? Let's say the Tilas Lulav, you don't have to have Kabbon. It's a doraisa. So Kriyas Torah, which is rabbinical, definitely you don't have to have. You can be yotzei. Why? Because what's the alternative? It's either it's Kriyas Torah, but again, could be the Kriyas Torah of reading is that you should study Torah. Right? It was Tikkun. It says because by Refidim, we went 3 days without Torah. That's what we read on Monday and Thursday. There should never be a hiatus of more than so many days without Torah. So the reading of the Torah could be on Monday and Thursday. That is Limud Torah. So I'm not sure over there. But reading on Shabbos is not that. Reading on Shabbos is not just Limud Torah. It's more. There's another aspect of it. I'm not sure about that. Shabbos is a day that people should come together and hear. It's also hearing Torah because Moshe was the one who was enacted to read on Shabbos, and Yeshua enacted on Monday and Thursday. It was a different time in history that it was legislated.
What about listeners to what you're doing? If you remember it's a mitzvah, or do you just do it?
No, you have to have in mind that you want to be able to the mitzvah. As the reader has in mind, you have to have in mind. Same idea. Mitzvah is kavanah. Just as the reader, it's the same thing regarding the listener. I mean, everybody agrees it's preferable, even if your mitzvah is kavanah, it's preferable to think that you want to do it for the sake of the mitzvah. So it's a different level of mitzvah. Nobody disagrees with that. There's no chiyuv to listen to any other Megillah. There's no obligation. Kriyas Megillah is only, we have an obligation. Chayv Adam Likros, right? Likros Megillah. You have an obligation. Every Jew has an obligation to read the Megillah. Because of the Nes, you don't have no obligation. Koheles, Rus, any of these. It's a minhag. It's a minhag. We read it at certain times of the year. It's not an obligation to read it. Okay? Yeah, that's the women. Women's afhin oyer bosados. That's where they're also included. Same chiyuv, same chiyuv. We have the question whether it's identical or not, but they definitely are included at some level. He said that. We say that when you read from the Megillah and you write it onto the other parchment, the pasuk that you're reading has to be from a Megillah. That's a complete Megillah. Ayin Leil Siv Gimel. Chenim Hoya Magia. He was reading. He was checking it to make sure it was written correctly. Shloma Beis Hago Korach B'Chavin Lotzi Dechovoso. Dafka Im Korach B'Nikud Koroi. That's only if you read it with the proper vowels. As I said, if you're looking for Yiseros and Chaseros to make sure that all the letters are there, and to you it's irrelevant what the vowels are, then you're not going to be Yotzei. Avam Korach La'agi Al Pi HaMesoros V'lo B'Nikud Koroi. He didn't read it, didn't pronounce it properly based on the punctuation, the vowels. Enu Yotzei Dechovoso. She'os Lahafsik Ayin Lev Sifhei Binyonim Acherim Hainu Shlo Binyono Shel Yom. Okay, we'll just go a little further. David has to get in 15 minutes of Mishna Berura before we go further to the next one. Okay. HaKoris Megillah, I mentioned the Gemara says in Megillah, Reb Meir was a sofer. Reb Meir was a sofer. So the story when Reb Meir originally came to study, he studied under two Rabbeim, Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva. First, Meir was a phenomenal genius, and he first came to Rabbi Shmuel. First, he went to Rabbi Shmuel, then he went to Rabbi Akiva. Came to Rabbi Akiva, he saw he couldn't stay there. Because Rabbi Akiva, his students already were fully proficient in all the Mishnais and the Braisos, and they were doing the analysis. But unless you're proficient in everything, you can't do analysis, because you have to be fully aware of what exists. So he went back to Rabbi Shmuel, So one of the things Rabbi Shmuel told him, he says, you're a sofer, you have to be careful that you form the letters when you write them correctly. Of course, he asked him, what do you do? He says, I'm a sofer, I'm a scribe. Of course, if you have a beis or a chof, a beis and a chof, if you leave off the back, it's read like a chof, not like a beis. And there's certain words that it can be something, not confused, it can easily be blasphemy if you write it a certain way. If it's read one way, it's not written properly. So Meir, he didn't have a Megillah, so what did he do? He wrote a Megillah from memory. And after he wrote the Megillah from memory, then he read it from the parchment. Because Koral Pelo Yotzei. You read it from memory, you're not Yotzei. So what did he do? He didn't have to transcribe it from a written Megillah, because he had a photograph from memory. So everything was written on a parchment. After he had the full Megillah written, then he read it from that parchment. Okay? So here we're speaking about the Megillah that he reads, the pasuk from is a fully written Megillah. That's what we're speaking here. But if it's not, they don't have minimally the majority, then you're not going to be Yotzei.
I thought you were obligated to transcribe the Megillah from another Megillah.
What happens if the person didn't and he wrote it correctly? It's a valid Megillah. Person's in the bind. He has nothing to transcribe it from, and he has it committed to memory, and he knows he'll write it accurately, everything. You do it, and after you check it, it's written correctly. It's a kosher Megillah. Now it's a valid Megillah. Okay?